Alright, good evening everybody. System Chalk here with the 122nd episode of Book of Hours, our first run through YouTube, playing as the artist. It's been a while since I've read the description for the artist, but I have a few things I want to get through today, so we'll try and save that for another time. So the big goal for today is going to be to get resurgences and emergences, and my big bottleneck right now is getting enough memories to make that happen. So what I'm going to do here, I have a little bit of flexibility at the start when hiring the fishermen. So I think the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to hire the fishermen. I'm going to talk with them a couple of times to just seed some basic memories. And then from there, I'm going to have to decide, you know, how many elements of the soul I want to give up and how many I want to... actually, you know what? There's a couple of other things that I can do here. So let's say... let's get the basics that I don't require memories taken care of. So for instance, we want Grail, so we're going to get that from the Sun Disfigured. And there's the crack track. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. Now next up, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to advance time a little bit, and that's just so that I can see what the weather is, because that's going to make that's going to have some bearing on what memories I try to generate next. Perfect. Okay, so this is basically easy mode for what I want to try and do right now. So we've got resurgences and emergences. We need 8 memories for that. We've got a beguiling melody. We've got the rain. Now the memory that I'm making right now is not actually tied to that goal. That's tied towards leveling up the fisherman, so we're not going to focus too much on that one. So Gossip, Impulse, Satisfaction, those we can get from Conversation. Taste is one that I need to work on. The Name Day Riddle is something that we're going to construct. And then the Thunderskin's Paean or the Old Moment. So we've got 2 of 8. We can make that 5 of 8 with the basic memories. 6 with taste. At which point we either need the Name Day Riddle, the Thunderskin's Paean, or the Old Moment, assuming all of those work the way we think they do. So, here's the next step. So I need to make sure that I have a Grail sort of sitting by and available. Let's focus on getting... Okay, actually, you know what? I was going to say, why don't I read a book to generate a memory, but it did actually occur to me that it makes more sense for me to talk to the fisherman for that, because the fisherman only takes 30 seconds to get a memory from. So... the next step... At this point, I think my next step has to be to try and generate the memories that I can without, like, so in this case, the Earth sign, oh, you know, what a shame. We have to give up the Earth sign. I can read a book to get that instead, so Name Day Riddle is on its way. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6... Sun's Weakness. Sorry, I just need to make sure that my list... So we've got a Beguiling Melody on its way. Sun's Weakness, Name Day Riddle, Rain. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can count on Gossip, Impulse, and Satisfaction one way or another. Okay, so with that in mind... Gossip, Impulse, Satisfaction... Taste. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Gossip, Impulse, Satisfaction, Taste. Taste needs to be created through an element of the soul. We'll do that by pouring a glass of water. Serve appropriately. Pour out. In winter, when the storms close the seas, the fishermen will offer their services for $1 a day. Fishermen in this part of the world have a reputation as smugglers, and worse than smugglers. Those days are past, mostly, and mostly they just catch pilchards now, but they still remember the words spoken in silence to the moon and the sea. So I'm going to take a slightly different direction on this now. So the original formulation that I had was that a fisherman would have 1 moon, so we would give them a tryst to bring them up to 2, a wormwood dream to bring them up to 8, a lunar globe to bring them up to 9, a mist-kissed water to bring them up to 11, and then a mackerel to bring them up to 13. But if they start with 2 moon, that means we should be able to bring them up to 14. So I'm going to start by talking with them about tryst. And essentially, I want to front load as much of the stuff that I can do with the fishermen at the start. So the day has sort of been reorganized around the fact that I have a real shot of being able to open up an otherwise difficult to access room. And we also have the rain, so I'm ahead of things on the resurgences and emergences. So in the worst case scenario here, I need to give up 3 elements of the soul to get... I need to give up 3 elements of the soul to get the, or I guess 4. No, we're already going to give up the taste, but 3 to get the gossip impulse and satisfaction. Again, we'll try and get that from the fisherman. And we're at the point now where I probably want to be considering whether or not I can get that last level of drums and dances. There's a bit of competition going on here because this has nectar, which would have been helpful for drums and dances, but there are many other ways that we can accomplish that. So again, we'll see how the day goes, but I'm feeling pretty good about where we are. Actually, with that in mind, if I had to generate 6 memories total, and I'm going to use 3, technically 4. Yeah, I think I'm going to start paying to get some elements of the soul back. But I think we're in good shape to get the drums and dances back. So let's start by using our fet to get a beguiling melody, or sorry, a cheerful ditty. And then I will use whist to get an earth sign. I'm just trying to think if there's something else. It's heart and nectar. So the impulse, sorry, not impulse. Well, yeah, technically impulse. The impulse I would be fighting with resurgences and emergences for. And the solace and storm are things that the fisherman might give me. So yeah, this is the catch. I guess the Thunderskin's Paean is one of the possibilities here. So if I took the drum, you know, there's a possibility there. Okay. Pour it out. So we'll use the shaft on this one. Or, you know what, the metal. Drink the stuff. This will consume the beverage. If it's a whole bottle, consider serving it first so that you don't drink the whole thing. I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. Okay, now, the resurgences and emergences wasn't the only thing I was concerned about. We are in the last of the cells. So what do we have here? The worm-inhabited cell. The occupant of this cell could not be allowed fresh air and exercise. It could not have been reasonably expected to leave the cell ever again, even while it wore human shape. But it could not be confined forever. In the end, somehow, it found its way into the walls. So we don't have any books in here. We have a midnight mark, a blemish left on a page or a skin by a careful incision or a judicious sting to preserve a little of the power of night. Stargall ink, a ink traditionally but only rarely made with meteoric iron, a minor ink of power. Whispering sand, white silver sand in which the voice of the waves lingers, and desiccated witchworms. Nasty little things, but almost safe when they're dead. Okay. Right now I'm kind of conscious about elements of the soul that I can restore. So again, I don't feel super happy about doing this because I do need the memories to sort of know where I stand, but right now I want to just load up the fisherman on the things that I can, and that means, you know, lunar globe. Actually, I should take a minute here and just see. So, element of the soul, memory, tool, beverage, sustenance. Yeah. The water of the isle, the water of the isle has a very faint, very distinctive taste, sometimes described as apple shroomy. Every sweet has its sour. Emerson. So we've got a couple of elements of the soul to work with now. So let's take the time to restore the metal. It is winter and the storms have tightened the seas. I am sitting before the fire in the sweet bones with a beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. And actually, at this point, I think I'm going to bring in another beguiling, or cheerful ditty. The Sun Disfigured, a scroll of anthropoderm parchment written in the golden ink called Uzalt. The author of this text calls herself the Elegabline. Sometimes she seems to be Sunset Celia, Watchman's name. Sometimes she seems to be Lady Tryphon, the Grail Long. It is unclear whether these are separate entities or the same person. It may be unclear even to the writer. The flaws in the Sun's plan are elucidated. The Sun's plan itself is never entirely clear, but it is a project of some kind to enter, possess, or surrender to the glory, the pure light above the mansis. This book suggests ways in which that plan might fail. So that gives us the grail that we needed. Well, grail or moth. It doesn't really matter, but it gives us what we need. Okay, so I want to get, Wrapped in the King. I've read this one a few times, so I'm going to just skip over reading that. And Perugian Diaries. In 1907, at the age of 18, Christopher Lallapoli left Strathcoyne's household to study theology at the University of Perugia in Italy, enrolling under the name Christopher Strathcoyne. For 4 years, since his adoption from a Bristol orphanage, Lallapoli served as Strathcoyne's pupil and protege, but his relationship with this austere and secretive man was always complicated. His journal confides, "I still think Fraser's intentions are good, certainly he agrees, but I never understood the final goal of his investigations. He was never prepared to enlighten me. And good intentions or not, I can no longer bear this dream of eyes. We have agreed to part almost amicably." Lallapoli left Perugia in 1909 without completing his degree. He had long lost interest in his studies, and the latter half of his journal is concerned with his studies of Umbrian folk songs and notes towards his own compositions, which are of widely varying variety. One of the better ones, In the Marshes of Night, suggests he visited the site of the old Lake Fucinus near Ortuccio. So this cheerful ditty is not actually... We're not going to hang on to that for now. This tool has boosted their aspects appropriately, so I've got a couple of things to take care of. So let's go to the drum. So we'll take the core, we'll take the cheerful ditty, drums and dances, So we'll do the Thunderskins Paean. Drum up a heart music. Drums and dances with scholar level heart plus an instrument creates the Thunderskins Paean. Okay, the Arab needs to be set aside for the resurgences and emergences. We are at 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 8 that we need. Name Day Riddle should be on its way still. So technically, these are the 3 that I would use to create the Gossip, Impulse, and Satisfaction if required. But the idea here is that we're going to be restoring elements of the soul and the sweet bones as well. But we still have things that we can do with the Fisherman's Assistant. So let me just take a second to take stock. So we've got 4. And that comes from his base moon, that comes from the Tryst, and that comes from the lunar globe. We are going to give him the Mistkissed Water and the Mackerel, which will give him a total of 4. That will take him up to 8. And then from that 8, we are going to give him the Wormwood Dream, which will give the remaining 6 moon. So the reason why I wanted to take a second to double check those numbers is that I'm at a point where I'm going to be giving him a consumable, and in fact the mackerel winds up being one of these things that... Oh, actually the ham is also quite plentiful. Never mind then. I can offer my assistant something to eat. This will increase their aspects. It's also just friendly. I suspect probably the fisherman would appreciate the ham more than the mackerel now that I think of it, but anyways. I happen to like fish, so I think it's a good thing. Not sure if I'm ready to try stargazing pie, though. Oh yes, I want to make Glassfinger Toxin again at some point. Let us hope it is equally possible to forget this again. So 6 moon as we wanted. So if I can, it would be nice to get the old wound, but let's focus on our immediate concerns, which are the room and the skills. Is this the way to the wood? But perhaps the wood is not a suitable place for a librarian. Name Day Riddle, a deceptively intricate riddle that might just teach us who we really are. Gravenius Van Loren was notoriously fond of these. The sustenance has boosted their aspects appropriately. So now we'll give them the Wormwood Dream, 12 of 14. What else do I want right now? Better now. Okay, let's bring back... I'll bring back the whist. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal in a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. Now, we've read the Instruments of the Heart a couple of times before, so I'm going to set that aside. Now, I suppose there's a couple things I want to do. This is not a bad time for me to check in, just because we've got... we're halfway through the day. We're almost done with the fisherman. So what I want to think about is how am I going to, first of all, how am I going to get resurgences and emergences leveled up? And then second, how am I going to level up drums and dances? Drums and dances is now going to need 5. So we've got 3 of the 5 that we need for drums and dances. Technically what I need to do here is set aside an Arab and a core to level this up. So what I can basically sort of think of this right now is this is my base. So this is going to be what I use to level up resurgences and emergences, which means that today we fail to level up drums and dances by 2 memories. I might be able to throw in So if I throw in the Hive's Lament, it's by 1, so I might be able to recover that other ways. But the idea here is what we want to try and do is we want to try and bring back elements of the soul here, or we want to generate memories from the fisherman so that we can push that number higher. And the advantage that we get from that is that I will free up some elements of the soul for me to restore some of the things that I've given up to be able to get where I am right now. So for instance, I can bring back that that old wound, or I could bring back an earth sign, for instance. Or even a, I could even bring back a one of the memory, oh heavens, what am I trying to say? The Newman. So it doesn't really help me for the drums and dances, but drums and dances is not going to be around forever. But again, we'll focus on our immediate goals. Right now, we just need the Mist-Kissed Water. Actually, to set myself up, I should have a Mist-Kissed Water. That's an Isle Water. Did I not draw another Mist-Kissed Water? Bit of an oversight if I did. Oh, no serving station in the kitchen jail. Interesting. Okay. Serve appropriately. Pour out. Poured out. The faintest of vapors still ghosts the water's surface. Finally, I could encourage my assistant, work with them for a little while, exalt them, or I could just listen to whatever they might have to say. A nice drop. I can offer my assistant something to drink. This will increase their aspects. They'll also be glad of the refreshment. Okay, so from here, what we're going to be able to do is use this character for memories. Like I said, we're still going to make an effort to pay and get some elements of the soul back, but we're going to transition from trying to level up something like resurgences or try to prepare the fisherman for the room. We're going to transition from that, and instead we're going to work towards getting them to generate memories that I need down to the Greshams. So there's the 14 moon that we needed. I could okay. And with Keeper level Heart, the Paean is the precursor to Swaddled Thunder. Ah, now this is good. So it turns out that I was mistaken in thinking that this would have... Oh, did I say that it would have Moth? It does have Grail. So no, that would have actually been good for resurgences and emergences. Anyways, we have what we need, so I'm not going to worry about that. As long as I can get... something with Nectar or something with Heart, I'm going to be able to level up both Drums and Dances and Resurgences and Emergences. Better now. Actually, technically with the Whist and the Core, we've already hit that. Which is good. I'm gonna need to get a little fancy in terms of how I make these work. Because again, we're competing with... Okay, regret doesn't help me. I think I just go for the Gossip, Impulse, and Satisfaction no matter what to lock in Resurgences and Emergences, and then the remainder we do overnight. Well, there's a solace. Okay, so that brings us closer to drums and dances. The nice thing about solace is that doesn't actually get in the way. In fact, here's what I'm going to do. The storm doesn't get in the way of... doesn't get in the way of resurgences and emergences. So now that I know, now that we've sort of resolved that I can get one memory to level up drums and dances, that's an easy one for us to commit to. So Apollo and Marsyas, I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. Better now. All right. So the question that I have for myself here is, does it make sense for me to use the core or anything like that to bring back the memory? Because the thing is that I don't really see myself... I can see myself bringing in... I can see myself doing another Wormwood Dream to bring the fisherman up to the required level, but I don't really see myself need like the old that would be an argument for the old wound. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. It's a little silly, but let's go for the shaft here. I am going to generate that old wound. I just got to think about how I can do that. Probably at the reading room desk. Yep. Explore an old wound to awaken the violent resonances within. So again, we still have my core 3. C-O-R-E, not C-H-O-R. Okay, so this would normally be the hurry the hell up sound. Gossip, excellent. So that saves me another element of the soul. I could commit that to bringing back an earth sign, in fact. So we'll use the metal for that. I've learned something, or perhaps just remembered it. So this will be the last one that I try and get from the fisherman. Doesn't mean I'll stop talking with them, but it will be the last time that I try to... It will be the last time that I try to get something that I'll use to level up resurgences and emergences, and that's just because I do actually need to make sure I have a minute available to level up both skills. Okay. Oops. Let's read the title for Apollo and Marsyas. Apollo and Marsyas, the libretto of a lost opera concerning the contest between Apollo and Marsyas and its tragic outcome. The librettist is identified only by their initials. In the original myth, Marsyas lost the musical contest and was flayed by Apollo, who later regretted it. In this version, Marsyas' skin has a further history. The skin of Marsyas gives oracles and is later smuggled to Phrygia, where the priestesses of Cybele use it for a drum. At the climax, the striking of the drum drives would-be violators of the priestesses to suicidal madness. The opera ends with a wistful hymn from the youngest priestess on the beauty of the mountain pines. I keep saying the mountain pines. It's just beauty of mountain pines. Anyways, it's a little counterintuitive that I'm doing this ahead of resurgences and emergences, but this is available. So, drums and dances. Here we go. Add the core. At last, I am something of an authority in this. I was wondering if this would be persistent memory, but it is not. And we get a free solace for our trouble. Not really something I can work with for resurgences and emergences, but it's nice to have nonetheless. Okay, so we're going to still talk with the assistant, but this is the point here where I need to get the impulse and the satisfaction. I'm going to use the health and the Faust for that. And it's completely, you know, if we wind up with an extra, okay, that's great. At this point here, I really just need to make sure I have what it takes to get the day's work done. So, Fost with... let's do on Thirstlies, Ivories, and Lovelies. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. And Satisfaction. I think I'm going to do the berry book this time. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. Move gingerly while the pain lasts. And better now. So for this, this is really just making the money back from today's work. So fixing and mending, there's not much work on offer in Brandcrude, but I can find 6p worth of odd jobs. And the Arab is left over for leveling up resurgences and emergences when the time comes. So the sun will be down by the time that we try to level it up, but we shouldn't be past the 30-second mark, so we should still get the Arab back at the end of the day. Okay, Wrapped in the King. Detailed accounts of the secret bacchanals and ecstatic dances observed in the necropolises and graveyards in southern Europe, in Egypt, and in Anatolia. The author is a self-confessed ghoul, an eater of buried flesh. He claims to have witnessed the dances while at his feasting. The dances draw from the traditions of the mysteries of the cults of Isis and Sybil, but include both symbolic and literal flayings, and the human heart is always central in the rites. The author punctuates his accounts with queasily sensuous descriptions of his own interrupted feasts. At these greater feasts, a black pig is always crowned as king before its slaying. On this occasion, its heart was weighed in the balance against a knot of feathers, and its skin became a cape for the officiant. Its flesh was left for the crows, but I must confess my interest was not in its carcass, but in the perfumed flesh of the milliner laid fresh in the earth. So we don't really use the earth sign, but it's nice to have. We've got our level 6 drums and dances. We have a foresight. I've learned something, or perhaps just remembered it. We have... we're actually out of time, but let me just make sure... Oh dear. Perhaps I don't have as much time as I thought. We're still going to be able to level up resurgences and emergences, but I think I might actually lose the... I may actually wind up losing the Arab for the next day. Anyways, neither here nor there. The sagging dock, the storms have had their way with this since the prison was abandoned. It won't last much longer. Could be dangerous. You go first. I thought I had a little more time with the books, but clearly I was mistaken. Okay, the Berry Book. Thyrza Blake, 7th librarian of Hush House, talks about fruit for no other apparent reason, but that it was the kind of thing she did. She talks about fruit in the woven language of Kilisimi. Who was it once said, fruit is the womb of a plant? It was me. Take a few moments to think on that enripened wisdom. I shall leave a blank space for your moments, here in this page. Nectar, children mine, cast my words into a sufficiency of nectar, and watch the Pyrus persimmon burst from the wood. Gather more nectar, wring it from the trees and the earth, and our Pyrsimus gushes forth the sacrament. You will thank me. Man, I completely forgot that this tells you how to come up with the sacrament malachite. I believe. On Thursley's Ivories and Lovelies, Fiona Ayrshire recounts her visits in the dreams of... Sorry. Fiona Ayrshire recounts her visits in dreams to the Red Church and the Mansis, and her conversations with the names of the Grail. An hour, Ayrshire explains, may usually only have 7 names, but since the Thursley's Ivories and Lovelies, who usually comprise the Red Grail's names, are constantly attempted to devour one another and the names of other hours, that number fluctuates. Lovelies, the freshest of the Grail's names, usually adopt the characteristics of whatever they devour, be it an Ivory, a Thursley, or occasionally an entirely different kind of name. A practical application of the principle is described. The arts of resurgences and emergences, in the presence of sufficiently potent Grail aspect, can be used to feed a pale Mommet to its successor doll, creating something notably more avid. And there is the impulse. Okay, so let's get this thing leveled up before I lose all of my effort. There's always more to learn. And now I get to take my pick among Solace, Regret, or Foresight, assuming that I can take it in the Violet Chamber. I actually think we can only take the Solace. Yeah. Dream on a memory. Now that night has fallen, I can rest and perhaps dream on the day's doings. So like I said, I think the worry here is that we won't have the Grail for tomorrow morning. But you know what? It is what it is. Like, it's going to... The big priority for today has been handled, which was the, getting all of the skills leveled up. It'd be nice if I had a Newman. It'd be nice, if I had a couple of the more persistent memories. But all of those are, nice to haves. The next move, I think, will be... Well, I guess it depends on what comes up tomorrow. But I think what we might try to do is to make a Wormwood Dream and... go through the Weald-filled Spring, and then it also seems pretty sensible for me to bring in Mrs. Kill and get her to open up the Riddling Stair. That might get held off given the fact that I'm missing the Arab Plus, but that's just, we'll worry about that tomorrow. We also have the Gaping Darkness, so that would be Heart. Presumably that's also a Mrs. Kill thing, but I have a few more doubts in terms of what we can do heart-wise right now. Of course, all of that will be handled in a future episode. So thank you very much for watching, and we might actually be touching on spring tomorrow, so lots of new things to happen. But, I'm going to start recording the next episode in a little bit, but I'm going to get some tea in between. Again, thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.